times real, that's why my name's Trill. Three times real, that's why my name's Trill.
Hey, put your hands up, come on, put your hands up, put your hands up, shout out.
3 times real, that's why my name's Trill. Three times real, that's why my name's Trill.
Hey, put your hands up, come on, put your hands up, put your hands up, now I hop on the scene with some banging dope beats with a top notch.
You are now tuned into the Boxing Bros. I'm Caden, and I'm here with my co-host and our cousin. Introduce yourselves, fellas.
You already know what it is. It's your boy Trill.
What's going on, everybody? Crooked Finger Salute. This is Conspira G. We got some things to talk about today. You're on mute.
Oh, he's starting on mute. Oh.
It's the TVE, baby. What? You know.
No, and this is hashtag Complex was right.
I wouldn't go that far just yet, but we're not diving into that yet. Okay, so Complex is feeling good. And if you want to know why Complex is feeling good, it's because new reports had surfaced, and we're going to go to Michael Benson's Twitter, in which he's actually, the source is Mark Kegel from ESPN, but it says Deontay Wilder has reportedly won his arbitration case for a trilogy fight with Tyson Fury, which must take place by September 15th, according to @Mark Kegel of ESPN. This means Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury for August 14th is now in major doubt. So that's one source. And if you want to read an article about the situation that dives into more detail, you can take a look at your favorite newspaper in the UK, everyone. The Sun magazine. Actually, it's the Daily Star, so this isn't the Sun. But it says Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua could be called off after court rules in favor of Deontay Wilder. So you can take a look at that. Now, we have our boxing cousin in the building, Complex. But before we get to Complex, we're going to start this off with Trill, Dollar, Bill. What's your reaction to reports that the judge ruled in favor of Deontay Wilder in arbitration and ordered the trilogy fight by September 15th?
Okay. And do y'all remember that we did a episode a while back about the step aside money? I think business-wise, if Deontay Wilder was about making smart business moves, this is what I think he should do, right? I think he should negotiate something where he gets the winner of Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, but he gets compensated handsomely for stepping aside. You know what I'm saying? So I got mad. Somebody's alarm was going off. I'm next to the window, but like I was saying, I think that he should, ask for the winner of Fury and Joshua and actually be compensated handsomely for stepping aside. I think that would be dope because it gives him more chance. I mean, it gives him longer time to work on his skills. It gives him and Malik more time to polish off some skills and maybe get in there with another opponent to see how the chemistry is between him and Malik. So he get 2 bags. A bag for stepping aside, a bag for getting in there with a lesser opponent. And then the winner of Anthony Joshua versus Fury. If I was Wilder, if I was in his ear, that's what I would say to the homie. But other than that, I'm gonna wait for this thing to play out because I think there's just too much money involved, and I believe that this fight is still gonna happen between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, and I think that Deontay Wilder will get paid crazy bread to make this fight happen because this is a big fight. I think this is a big fight. But yeah, I just can't wait to see this whole drama thing play out. You know, this is becoming its own show in itself as the heavyweights turn. You know, so I can't wait to see what goes on the next episode. I'm done.
Hopefully, the next episode is an actual fight. You know?
Right. Right.
All right. We're going to turn it over to Ned, the TBE.
All right. Listen, Wilder, you just that flea that won't go away, man. That fly in the room. You know, Wilder, I need you to take the step aside money. It's because I need you, like Trill said, take it and agree to fight the winner of whatever the trilogy, the 2-fight deal, whatever fight deal they got set up. You're next in line at Undisputed. And do this for me where you don't have to fight the rest of the year. Because that will put me in line. Because me and G got a little side bet on you. And you work in my favor, my brother. This is the only time I'm rooting for you, Wilder. Take this step aside, brother. Help a man out. So, you know, that's all I got to say.
All right, we're going to turn it over to Conspiracy G, but it looks like he's Reality today.
Yeah, I changed my name, man, because this ain't even a conspiracy anymore, man. This is just facts, you know. But I'll say this, man. There's a couple of things that occurred this past couple of days that I'm like, oh man, I almost fell for it, you know. When Tyson Fury made the announcement, I was like, all right, finally, they really about to do this. But then I noticed that AJ isn't making the announcement, and I'm like, how come AJ is not making the announcement, but Tyson Fury is making the announcement? That was kind of odd, but I was like, nonetheless, who cares? Let's get it popping. Then people started talking about, well, arbitration is around the corner, and now it's here, right? And the ruling came in Wilder's favor. So I'm like, now I'm looking back at all of this stuff and to kind of co-sign with Trill saying it seemed like a soap opera. We had Wilder, you know, training in his living room in his backyard. You know what I mean? Painting that picture, the narrative. Like, I've been training this whole time for Fury. You know, we got Fury like speed racing towards Saudi Arabia, trying to announce this fight. So it just seems so funny, right? And so to me, I actually like this ruling. And the reason why is because technically, well, AJ doesn't win. But at least Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder are winners in this case. Tyson Fury gets his huge fight with AJ, if in fact Wilder agrees to step aside. So now this is where I come with my conspiracy back. I'm assuming Deontay Wilder is a wise man when it comes to money. I know, don't chop my head off. I'm assuming he learned from his past mistakes when it comes to money. How about that? And so what I think is the smartest move is take the step aside money. You know, this is in Saudi Arabia, so it doesn't necessarily even matter about the gate. You could just fight a random bum, you know, like, or somebody. Honestly, I think you should fight Charles Martin. That'd be a good step up for Tyson Fury to kind of get you in a ring with a person that moves a lot. But nonetheless, you know, take a lesser opponent at this moment. Collect a big payday, have AJ and AJ and Tyson Fury, you know, slug it out. I don't necessarily know if AJ will agree to if AJ wins that Wilder gets a shot at AJ. I don't know if that's possible, right? But Eddie Hearn could provide Wilder with several options, right? Like he could probably even get on Dillian White. They have bad blood. Maybe Eddie's like, yo, I may not be able to give you AJ unless AJ wants this fight. But if not, I could give you Dillian White. And we know that they got a whole storyline within itself. So, hey, you know, Wilder got several options right now. He's chilling, you know, like huge payday just to watch the fight, not even be a part of the fight. So I have to say, man, salute to Deontay Wilder and salute to Tyson Fury for trying to like play the boxing audience. You know what I mean? Like this mega fight Undisputed is going to really happen. I think it is going to happen, but Tyson Fury is going to have to cut some checks. And then I still remember in the past, I forgot how many weeks ago we had a segment, and Tyson Fury said something about like, I'm giving my lawyers millions of dollars to make sure that this fight happens. I'm like, millions of dollars? Like, why are you giving out millions of dollars to your lawyers? But maybe what he really meant was, I'm giving millions of dollars to this dude Deontay Wilder to allow me to fight Anthony Joshua, which at the end of the day, it's a win-win, at least for the boxing community. It's a win for Tyson Fury. It's a win for Deontay Wilder. And AJ, hopefully it's a win for you, So, yeah, man, I'm liking this.
All right. Now it's time to unleash the boxing cousin complex. Go.
Hold on. Before y'all start, I need to be the I need to mediate y'all fellas.
I relinquish my mediating duties to G, although he does have a slight bias for the wild debts of the world.
Don't try and taint it for the beginning.
I'm gonna turn it over to G. Complex, watch your mouth. You haven't even gotten the floor yet. Watch your mouth. All right, go ahead, G. Go ahead,
Sound
G.
like Andrade out here.
You the mediator, G. Go ahead.
Go ahead, my brother Complex. Let's do this.
What's up, everybody? My boxing brethren. So I saw this news earlier, and it was expected. I mean, I told you guys, when this whole thing happened, and Fury was like, "Oh, I'm not fighting." I told you, I was like, "Guys, they have a contract. It's not that simple. The legal system, you can't just decide a contract is over unilaterally. You have to go through certain procedures." And obviously they did. They went through a mediation and arbitration, and Wilder won. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that AJ Fury is off. This is what I've been saying this whole time. Wilder wants to fight. Fury obviously wants the biggest payday possible. He owes Wilder a fight. However, he can go on and fight AJ for undisputed, which is a bigger fight. He doesn't want to risk fighting Wilder, potentially losing, and then missing out on that big payday. So this is what happens. Wilder has a contract, right, where he's owed a third fight. Fury has to fight him, technically, by the law. However, the way the legal system works, you can't necessarily force somebody to fight. You can't force somebody there's no guard's going to force Fury in the ring, right? So what happens? If Fury doesn't honor the contract, then Wilder can sue for damages, for breach of contract. And essentially, in that case, Fury has two choices. I fight Wilder, honor the contract and fight him, give him his contracted fight, or I pay him his damages, whatever the judge says. If he's his purse for that third fight, which could be up to 20 million or something, whatever, 10, 20 million, whatever number, I don't know. So it's still possible that AJ Fury can happen, because if you guys notice over the weekend, Fury said he just got off the phone with the Saudi prince, I believe it's Prince Khalid, and he's like, the fight is on. He seemed very confident, but Fury talks a lot of trash, so you never know. And I feel bad for believing it, because I bought into it too. But what might happen is that, okay, Wilder, you won the contract, right? Congratulations. I'm still not going to fight you. So whatever it costs to pay you off, I'll just pay it. And I'll just have this Saudi prince back it, because maybe the Saudis want it so bad that they'll take it. And I'll draw a quick comparison. You guys ever watched the movie The Social Network? It's a story about how Facebook was started.
Yeah, I've seen it.
At the end of that movie, one of the lawyers is talking to the guy who plays Mark Zuckerberg. And so he had just gone through, kind of his own mediation with the Winklevoss twins and his other co-founder, this guy, Eduardo something. So the lawyer is telling him, just pay them off, right? It's a speeding ticket at the end of the day. You're going to go on to do other things. This is just a bump in the road. Just pay them off and then keep doing your thing. And he did. The Winklevoss twins were paid millions of dollars, and his partner at the time was paid millions of dollars. So they were technically right. They won whatever case, but Zuckerberg just pays the speeding ticket and moves on. Fury, in this case, owes Wilder a fight, and that's fine. But he may just pay him off whatever breach of damages he has to pay, and then the fight goes on. Because if that fight is as big as we all believe it is, that can generate hundreds of millions. So what's tens of millions to hundreds of millions, right? So it is a win for Wilder in a sense, because Wilder's going to get paid either way. Either he gets a third fight and he gets a chance back at his belt and he fights and he wins, or he gets paid breach of damages, or like you guys mentioned, if it's possible, there's some negotiation where he gets paid, they fight, and he gets the winner. Although I find that highly unlikely because I think those contracts just get too muddy, and plus the risk is too high. I mean, anything could happen between those guys: injuries, 3 fights, or they just abscond, and you have to go through another court case. So I feel like Wilder is going to try and get back his belt if possible, or get paid damages. But it is an interesting, development. And at the end of the day, Wilder won. Like I said, you guys are like, "There's no contract. There's no contract. The contract expired." Well, obviously it didn't. Bob was saying that. Fury was saying that. There's no contract. The contract's expired. Hey, Wilder's still got a contract, and he won his arbitration.
Thank you, Complex. Caden?
So, in light of all my haters, I'm not going to say anything. So I'm done. Wrap it up. You know that's a lie.
I was like, what?
You know that's a lie. You want to hear what I got to say now, don't you? For starters, G, just for the record, was I not the first one to predict before any of this happened that Wilder started this whole mediation so that he can get step aside money?
Yeah, I think we all said it though. I believe.
I mean, we can run to the tapes, G. I mean, I know for a fact that's what I said. So, how is it Complex was right when I said this a long time ago? A long time ago. So how does it end up being Complex was right? In fact, if you go to the press conference from the punch-off, Complex predicts that Wilder Fury 3 is going to happen and Undisputed is not going to happen. Right? This is recent. As last Friday, Complex predicts that Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury 3 is going to happen before Undisputed. So now he sits here today saying he was right because Wilder's going to get step-aside money. No, you were wrong. And all you have to do is go to the video from. Notice I didn't interrupt him, but I'm gonna let you in. Go ahead, brother.
I didn't. No, I'm actually. I was just gonna say, G, when he's done, let me go. I just want to.
No, go ahead. Go now. Go now. Go ahead. I'm gonna let you in.
No, I don't want to interrupt you because I know you're gonna be like you.
Here's all I want to know: yes or no? On Friday, did you not predict that Wilder Fury 3 was going to happen?
You could watch it. It's on Google. It's on YouTube, so you can watch it. I said, in reality, I have no idea what's going to happen.
See what I'm saying?
But so you're gonna let me talk or no?
Go ahead.
I said, nobody knows what's going to happen, and I explained what I just said. Now I explained it on Friday. I said if Wilder wins, Fury may still go on because he can't be contractually obligated to step in the ring. But he's going to have to pay Wilder. But Wilder obviously wants the third fight. It's so funny you guys say Wilder doesn't want the fight. He's just trying to get paid. How does that make sense when he's the one who exercises contract? Let me know, Caden. How does that work?
For starters, it's not your turn to ask me questions, but I'll answer that question and then I'll get back to it because he knows
You're not the arbitrator. G's the arbitrator.
What are you talking about? I relinquished the floor, which is mine, after letting you speak uninterrupted to allow you to make 1 point, not to allow you to ask me questions. Now, mediator, am I wrong about that?
You are correct. Proceed, my brother.
So what I will do is answer your question and then go back to having my floor. Because he knows by activating this arbitration that he may get step-aside money for a fight he never really wanted. Now, you can say he wanted to fight. I can say he didn't want to fight. At the end of the day, neither one of us is Deontay Wilder. But what I will say is logic is in my favor because he let his contract expire when he could have had the fight in July 2020. So, if he really wanted to fight, why did he let the contract expire? Remember what I said. I was going to answer your question, but I still got the floor, so you can hold. You can wait for your applause.
We got you after. We got you.
Wait for your applause because now it's time to drop the hammer. Okay, remember I actually predicted this was going to happen. Me. And you can check the tape. Me. I normally don't do this because I don't really care about getting stuff right. I don't even feel like this is some magical thing to get right. I just read the tea leaves based on my knowledge of the stuff. He knew that there was possibly money for him to get by setting this arbitration, so that's what he did. But one thing I want everyone to know is that an arbitration is not legally binding unless both sides agree that they're going to honor the ruling. So everyone's talking about the fact that this judge made a ruling overlooking the fact that they did say, but Fury's side objected to it. So an arbitration is only legally binding if both sides agree that they're going to honor the ruling. I've seen nothing to suggest that Fury agreed that he was going to honor the ruling by a judge. So just because the judge ruled that the fight needs to happen by September 15th doesn't mean it's legally binding in an arbitration unless Fury and Wilder both agreed in writing that they were going to honor the judge's ruling. So that's one thing. So let's not act like, oh, Wilder got this major victory. Let me just point that out from the jump. Another thing, Fury officially announced the fight with Anthony Joshua before the judge made the ruling on the arbitration. That is key because what we know, if you look at Frank Warren was saying, he was waiting for proof of funds before he announced this fight. Tyson Fury said he was on the phone with the Saudi prince who assured him that the money was there. This is all very important because now Tyson Fury has a legally binding contract with proof of funds to fight Anthony Joshua, in which they are going to get a site fee of $155 million, which is out there that Tyson Fury is going to make $75 million on the site fee alone, not even including pay-per-view numbers, to fight Anthony Joshua. So you know what happens now? That means that Fury would suffer a huge detriment if he was not allowed to fight Anthony Joshua. So now that this man has a fight in place to fight Anthony Joshua that's scheduled for August 14th, that would give him generational wealth. If he was forced to fight Deontay Wilder in the trilogy, he would actually lose money. He would lose money. He would suffer a loss. Think about that. You're telling me that the judge can order Tyson Fury, a man who just got a fight. And remember, the reason why the fight didn't take place in July of 2020 was because Deontay Wilder wasn't ready. Tyson Fury was ready. Tyson Fury was saying, I'm ready to fight. Where is this guy? Deontay Wilder's the one who allowed the contract to expire. So now Tyson Fury has the contract set for him to not only fight and make the most money he's ever made in his career, he gets to fight for the biggest accolades and the biggest prizes of his career. And you're telling me a judge is going to, and you're telling me a judge is going to tell him, no, you can't do that because you have to fight Deontay Wilder and make less money. The most he made against Deontay Wilder allegedly was $28 million. You're talking about this guy making probably 3 times the amount of what he made to fight Deontay Wilder in the second fight that was more anticipated than what the trilogy would be, to fight Anthony Joshua. You're talking about a guy who will make more money fighting Anthony Joshua in one fight than he made fighting Deontay Wilder in 2. He would make more money fighting Anthony Joshua in one fight than he will make fighting Deontay Wilder in 3 fights. And you think a judge has the right to tell him he can't make that money? You think that's going to be enforceable? Okay. So a judge forcing Fury to fight Wilder a third time would cause him to suffer serious financial deficit. And without proof that a third fight with Wilder is equal or of more value than a fight with Joshua, the arbitration ruling would not be enforceable. The arbitration ruling would not be enforceable because you cannot force Tyson Fury to put his career on hold, the way he eats, to earn a living, and you can't force him into a bad contract. Him fighting Deontay Wilder would be a bad contract. You would be essentially telling him you can't fight for the biggest prize of your career. You can't fight for the most money of your career because Deontay Wilder let the contract expired, and we want to give him a second bite of the apple. Because when he wasn't ready, you had to put your career on hold. You can't do that. You can't do that. And that's why I'm telling you this ruling is not going to be enforced and it's not going to be upheld. Another thing, because if Fury fights Wilder in the third fight and suffers a huge financial loss, PBC, MTK Global, Top Rank, and all associated parties would be responsible for mitigating his losses. And that's what the judge is going to have to answer for. So what happens if Tyson Fury fights Deontay Wilder on September 15th and he doesn't make the $75 million that he was going to make just from the site fee alone to fight Anthony Joshua. Now he's going to suffer a huge detriment. Let's say hypothetically he makes $30,000. He makes $30,000 to fight Deontay. I mean $30,000. He makes $30 million to fight Deontay Wilder, right, in the trilogy. That's still going to be $45 million short of what he was going to make on the site fee alone to fight Anthony Joshua. And no judge can force you into losing that much money. So in order for that contract to be enforceable, in order for that ruling to be enforceable with Tyson Fury, they're going to have to show that that fight with Deontay Wilder would be of equal or more value. And if not, someone's going to owe Tyson Fury for the detriment he suffered for honoring that ruling, which is why that ruling cannot be enforceable. Okay? And lastly, the trilogy was ordered to happen by September 15th. His fight with Anthony Joshua is scheduled for August 14th. They said a trilogy has to happen. They never said Fury had to have the belts. They never said he had to have the belts. So it is very possible he could fight Joshua on August 14th and say, I'm still going to give Deontay Wilder his third fight, whether he wins or loses. So with all that being said, there's still no guarantee he'd even have to pay Deontay Wilder step-aside money, although I've been saying from the beginning he will most likely pay Deontay Wilder step-aside money because it's the easiest way to clear all this up. Mm-hmm. But he has arguments as to why he shouldn't pay Deontay Wilder, and I didn't even get into the whole egg weight, bodysuit, cheating, all the other stuff. I didn't even get into all that. At the end of the day, he's poised to make the most money he's ever made in his career, fighting for the biggest prize of his career, and no judge can force him into such a huge financial loss. That will not be upheld. That will not be enforceable. That's why he announced the fight with Anthony Joshua the day before the arbitration, because now it's a chess game. Now Wilder has to prove his fight would be more lucrative, or Fury suffers a major detriment by having to fight Deontay Wilder on September 15th. It is for that reason, everyone. Wilder fans need to simmer down. Undisputed will take place. Go ahead, Complex.
Thank you. So, as a wise man once told me, he believes in facts and logic, right? So I'm going to list out a few facts for you guys, right? One, Wilder lost to Fury in February 2020. Immediately after that fight, he exercised his rematch clause. Fact. Immediately after he exercises his rematch clause, the coronavirus pandemic hits the United States and shuts down the country. Fact. The fight is postponed multiple times, but is ultimately set for December 19th that both parties agreed to. However, the fight is postponed once again because both networks decide that they want to put on college football games of this. Fact. After that, Fury says he doesn't want to honor the contract and he's going to move on with his career, where Wilder exercises his right to a mediation/arbitration. Fact. And from that time, from approximately November 2020 to May 2021, Wilder and Fury are engaged in mediation/arbitration, which Wilder wins. These are all facts. So somehow in between there, Wilder in Caden's imaginary 3D chess is actually just trying to get a payday by exercising and keep trying to force this fight, as opposed to Fury just being able to pay him off earlier on, and this fight could have happening, or Fury calling him on his bluff and fighting him earlier, and then Wilder wouldn't get no payday. But anyways, first off, Caden said a few things that I wanted to have a rebuttal to. One, he said that the arbitration has to be binding. It said in the contract that they agreed to binding arbitration. First they go to mediation, then binding arbitration, meaning both sides agree that they're going to follow what the judge's decision is. That's in lieu of going to court, in lieu of having to go to actual court case. This is why they have a judge be the arbitrator. Two, even though Fury announced the fight this weekend, Bob Arum already came out and refuted that. There's already articles on check ESPN. Bob Arum has already said we haven't gotten the final contracts yet. So Fury just came out and said something, but Bob Arum already refuted that. So there is no real contract yet. Nothing signed. Three, Fury's career wasn't being put on hold. Fury had a chance to fight Wilder back in February of 2021, you could have said. They were supposed to fight December 19th, and it got postponed as due to the networks. That doesn't mean they couldn't have fought in January, February, March, April, or even May of 2021. However, the reason why they didn't fight is because Fury decided he didn't want to honor the contract, and they've been embroiled in mediation and arbitration. Apart from that, that's the only reason why they haven't fought. This thing could have been figured out a long time ago. In fact, Fury could have fought Wilder in, let's say, February of 2021, as I had initially thought was going to happen. And then if he had beaten Wilder, still fight AJ in August of 2021. So Fury's career isn't being put on hold here. Nothing's happening with it. It's up to him. He can still fight. And even Caden said, if he wants to fight before, whatever, I don't know if that's legally allowed, but at the end of the day, he owes Wilder a third fight. And then lastly, you know, this supposed other contract with this amount that he's supposed to get, $75 million, came after his contract with Wilder. Wilder's contract predates Fury's contract. So whatever contract he created afterwards, that doesn't impact his initial contract. You can't supersede an initial contract with a secondary contract. Like, well, I don't have to honor this first contract because this secondary contract says XYZ. Honor your first contract and then honor your second contract. It's up to you. The decision's yours. Like I said, first off, I want to make a clear distinction between being paid for damages and step aside. Wilder is being, if Fury doesn't fight, he may have to owe Wilder damages. That's not necessarily step aside. Wilder, as I've said through the facts, has wanted this fight this whole time. Because if it was as simple as step aside, that could have been negotiated long ago. And all these things could have been figured out. But if it wasn't that Wilder wants this fight, then that's why they're having all this mediation. That's why Wilder wins the third fight. And if you don't believe it, call him on his bluff. Wilder doesn't actually want to get in there with Fury a third time. Fine, fight him. Beat him again. Who cares? But if he has a contractual obligation to a third fight, then honor that. That's what Wilder fans have been saying this whole time. It's not, oh, we don't want undisputed, we don't whatever. It's the fact that you guys agreed to a 2-fight deal. The first fight was going to happen, then the second fight was going to happen. The first fight happened, and after that, you decided the second wasn't going to happen. That's not fair. Let the man get his second shot. That's all Wilder fans have been saying. Y'all turn it into this, oh, no, what's really happening is Wilder doesn't actually want to fight. He wants to get paid, but he's going to sit on his career for an extra 6 to 8 months of arbitration so he could get paid, even though Fury could just fight him. He's calling Fury out every single time. But no, actually, he doesn't want to fight. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, facts and logic to you guys, however your facts and logic got you there. But from the way I look at it, Wilder wants a third fight. He just won the mediation to get his third fight. However, it's still possible he won't get it because Fury might decide to go against that. That's the realities of the legal world. Just because you have a legal contract, you can, like I said, pay damages and move on. So if he has a Saudi prince who told him on the phone, like, yo, don't even worry about it, don't even trip. If it's whatever, 10, 20, that's pocket change to me, I got you. Then it is what it is. But Wilder is at least have a win in the sense that he shows that he wanted the fight and that Fury's deciding not to fight. Is Fury scared of Wilder? No, I don't believe so. Fury's trying to make a business decision to get a bigger fight for more money. And in a sense, I'm not mad at him. I get it. You want to make the most money. You don't want to avoid a fight. You want to fight Wilder, potentially lose, and then you miss out on a $75 to $100 million payday. But at the end of the day, you signed a contract, sir. You have to honor that contract. That's
all right. Thank you, Complex. Caden, would you like to respond to Complex's?
I'll respond briefly because you notice how he skipped over all the contract protections that allow someone not to suffer huge financial loss and detriments that Tyson Fury would suffer if he was forced to fight Deontay Wilder a third time. And just to dive into something that's very important, you notice how his argument is the networks agreed that they wouldn't put on Wilder versus Fury because they wanted to show college football. That has nothing to do with Tyson Fury. If the networks decide that they don't want to put on Tyson Fury's fight, the only thing that matters to Tyson Fury is the contract. And what's a fact is that contract expired. And the networks, mainly Deontay Wilder's network, knew that his contract was going to expire, and they still chose to put on football games rather than his trilogy fight with Tyson Fury. That's their fault, not Fury's fault. Now, when Wilder's contract expired, there was no longer a contract to fight Wilder because that contract was expired. And when that contract was expired, that's when Tyson Fury entered into a contract to fight Anthony Joshua. And just like you said, Bob Arum's claiming there's no contracts. I've heard Frank Warren said there was contracts, and I heard and I've seen reports that both guys signed contracts, and I've seen Tyson Fury from his own mouth say that he's fighting Anthony Joshua on August 14th, and that he spoke with the Saudi prince, and that it was going to happen. So I have to say, though the most reliable sources would be the horse's mouth himself. Not only did he announce it, okay, he told you he had validation and verification from the Saudi prince, and that he had proof of funds. Now, going into arbitration, you know arbitration is not final. You know arbitration is a mediation and the judge makes a ruling, and if you don't like the ruling, then you go to court. Then you go to court and you make your arguments. And I'm not going to repeat all my arguments, but you can rewind. Those are just a fraction of the arguments. Fury, I got a ton more. Holler at me. You'd win this easy. It'll be a piece of cake, bro. I'm telling you. There's no way a judge can force.
He should have hired you for arbitration.
There's no way a judge can force you to take huge financial losses to the point where you may lose 45 to 60 million. That is, no judge would honor that. No judge would uphold that, bro. You Gucci. That's why it was a smart decision to announce it. And Deontay Wilder, it's a smart decision to file the arbitration and train in your living room and build a ring in your backyard to act like you really wanted to fight. Although you ain't sparring, you ain't going to the gym. You and Malik, y'all are putting a little dance routine together, putting it out there, making it look like you training. They spraying you up with some water, rubbing you down with some oil, making it look like you was working. You don't even, you're working out in sweats, for Christ's sake. How hard are you working? Let's be real. All right, so another thing. Complex is so funny with this honor this contract stuff, because I remember Andy Ruiz versus Anthony Joshua too. When Andy Ruiz was trying not to fight Anthony Joshua, and I was saying how you should be a man of your word and honor your contract. Trill was saying how you should be a man of your word and honor your contract. TBE was saying how you should be a man of your word and honor your contract. And G and Ned were like, no, dog, he should try to get more money.
Not G and Complex.
Dude, look. Yeah, G and Complex. And so you were okay with that then, right?
But it worked. It worked, though.
He did get more money.
And hold on. It worked. We don't know how well it worked, but it worked, right? Mm-hmm. And much like you were okay with it then, what's good for the geese is good for the gander, right? So you gotta respect it. And Tyson Fury right now is going to fight Anthony Joshua. And here's another fact, and you can look it up. Complex said that Wilder Fury was going to happen on Friday. I gave him a clear-cut chance. Like I said, so your final prediction is that Wilder and Fury is 3 is going to happen before Undisputed, and he said yes. Look that up too. So at the end of the day, Caden's right, Complex is wrong. But what else did you expect?
Yo, may I ask you, Complex, just one question? Sure. Give me a quick answer. Why did you write again? Complex was right as your name. I'm just curious. I'm not even trying to like bring smoke. I just want to know, like, what are you saying you was right on?
Because one, I was right that he still has a contract. It's funny. Caden just says the contract expired. How did the contract expire if a judge just said that he has an arbitration that is in his favor, which allows him to fight up until September 15th? So that's just one reason I was right. But I'll leave it at that. But yeah, Complex was right. I called and I said he would win the arbitration. I said there would be an arbitration and that he would win. I said he still do his third fight. Y'all said there's no contract expired. I said the man is still owed his fight. So Complex was right. # Complex was right.
And Kate, if you don't mind, I actually have a question as well. So knowing that arbitration isn't legally binding, however, the next step is bringing Tyson Fury to court, correct? So wouldn't the arbitration ruling almost like set precedents for that that lawsuit, for damages?
No, because once again, you're talking about damages for Wilder, but you're overlooking the damages Fury would have. Again, I already pointed out to you, this man has a fight with a site fee of $155 million, of which he's taken home $75 million. If he is forced to fight Deontay Wilder, realistically, how much money do you think that fight would generate? How much money do you think Tyson Fury would make if he fought Wilder in a trilogy?
I don't know, maybe like 20 million or something.
Let's give him 30. Let's be generous. Let's give him 30. On the site fee alone, he's still going to lose $45 million. How can you force a man, seriously, in the hurt business of boxing, to fight someone who allowed a contract to expire, regardless of whether or not it was his network that decided not to put on the fight, that would put Tyson Fury's career on hold, because he could have fought Deontay Wilder on December 19th if the networks would have allowed him to, right? And if he would have won, which of course he's going to argue he would have won, he would have been smooth selling to fight Anthony Joshua on August 14th. Now the reason why Tyson Fury's not responsible for COVID. Tyson Fury's not responsible for the networks choosing football over boxing. That's not his responsibility. He's simply a fighter trying to feed his family. And now he has an opportunity to fight for the most illustrious title in the sport of boxing, undisputed heavyweight champion. He has the opportunity to fight for generational wealth. None of those things come with fighting Deontay Wilder. So how can you enforce a contract that's going to cause a man such serious financial detriment? You understand what I'm saying? So now you make him fight Deontay Wilder. He's going to have damages.
No. So that's actually not my question.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, because obviously Tyson Fury is not going to honor the ruling, right? The September 15th ruling, because he already has an August fight set up with with Anthony Joshua, allegedly. My question is, Tyson Fury goes to the Saudi Arabia route and does that fight. Does Deontay Wilder have, an argument for, damages? That's what I'm asking you.
What damages would he have? So that's another point. Remember, the argument was good. What's good for you was good for Fury. So when Fury was ready to fight him, the networks chose football over boxing. So he went and got himself a fight. And that fight's the most lucrative fight of his career on August 14th. Now, he goes and he fights Anthony Joshua. Let's say he beats Anthony Joshua. That makes his rematch with Deontay Wilder even bigger. So now he goes and fights Deontay Wilder. What damage would he have accrued? You get to fight him a third time, and now he's undisputed champion. And now instead of fighting him for your WBC belt, you're fighting him for all the belts. You actually gained. Right? So what damages would he have? Hold up a second. Now, let's say that he loses the belt. Right? And then he goes to fight him again. He's still getting his third fight, and that's what the whole contract was about. In the end, I don't know what kind of damages they're gonna have. In the end, remember what damages is, right? So if you order a pair of boxing gloves for me, and when you get the boxing gloves, they're damaged and they're messed up, right? I can give you what you paid me, right? Or I can give you a new pair of gloves. I'm allowed to mitigate, right? I'm allowed to do whatever, right? So in the end, what would the damage have been? Either I give you the money or not. What is he going to argue? He could have taken another fight. They're going to ask you, another thing they're going to ask is, how did you try to mitigate your losses, Deontay? He's going to say, oh, well, he never, but how did you didn't try to fight no one else. You didn't do anything. What damages is he going to really have? It was his network that agreed.
I got you, Complex. Patience.
All right, go ahead.
You got the judge. I'm the judge. I'm Judge G. Bro. Relax.
Go ahead, G. Let him in. Yo, Judge G. Let him in.
Yeah, go ahead, Complex.
Thank you. So, Kaden makes a couple points. He says, one, how are you going to stop Fury from making the career high payday, right? Nothing is stopping Fury from making that payday. Fury's stopping himself. So you mentioned on December 19th, the networks decided not to have that fight. Fine. But what happened in January, February, March, April, May? They could have had this fight. The only reason it didn't happen was because they were in this arbitration. Joshua had just fought in December, so they didn't have an undisputed fight coming up anytime soon. They're only having this fight in August. So you mean to tell me all this time through August, you were negotiating this fight? You could have had the fight with Wilder, beating him, and then continued on to have the fight in August. So that's
what Wilder had.
So Wilder's trying to have the fight he's contractually obligated for, his rematch. And that's why you can show that Wilder made his best efforts. Every single moment he had a chance, he exercised his rematch clause. Every single fight he agreed to, because once again, it's not his fault that the networks moved the date either. He's a victim in that as well. He's at the mercy of the networks. So that's not his fault either. So he still is owed his third fight. And if Fury wants to go undisputed and fight Joshua or whatever, that's fine. He can do that after he beats Wilder. If he wants to, he can set up the fight with Wilder and then set up the fight with Joshua for later in the year. That fight's still big. It doesn't matter. But the only thing that's stopping him is Fury.
All right. So before Kaden responds, I do have a question also for Kaden. In regards to the damages, what about Fox themselves or PBC Fox? Because they have invested like millions of dollars in marketing, and I'm assuming they took a loss in the rematch. And so maybe their big payday was actually the trilogy, but then COVID hit, and so that's why they had to push everything back. So
what does that matter that they took a loss in the rematch? That fight already happened. They weren't promoting the trilogy. There's been no promotion for the trilogy. Remember, we're talking about the trilogy. You're not talking about, bro. People
Remember,
take
because
losses-
the contract was a 2-fight deal, though. So if the contract was a 2-fight deal,
the contract was a 2-fight deal and it expired. See, that's what everyone's missing. The contract did expire, and it wasn't Fury's fault. Now, we're not talking about Deontay Wilder. Fury's the one who has the undisputed fight happening, and Wilder's the one coming out now saying he wants to fight. At the end of the day, to me, all this stuff is pointless semantics. What I'm telling you is going to matter is how can a judge force a man to turn down the most money he was going to make in his career, generational wealth, and for the biggest accolade in the sport, for a fight that he was willing to have when he was obligated to have it. Because at the end of the day, talking about he could have fought him in January, he could have fought him in February, he wasn't obligated to fight him then. He was obligated to fight him in December. He was ready to fight him in December, and that didn't happen. So you can't hold that against that man. That's why this judge's ruling to me is going to be very shaky, and I think that Fury has enough. And this is not even bringing in all the BS, the autopsy, the egg weight, the spiking of the water.
All that is irrelevant.
All that stuff.
All of that is sorry.
order.
Not that all that is very relevant, bro. When you're accusing a man of causing serious bodily injury with a dangerous weapon, why would he ever want to fight you again? And it's not just that. There's slander, there's defamation. You're forgetting the counter lawsuits that Tyson Fury would have against Deontay Wilder. When you're talking about damages, let's not forget Fury got some shit for Wilder's ass too. That's why I'm telling you. This ain't as cut and dry as y'all think. Fury, holla at your boy. I guarantee I'll get this done in a half-hour plus commercial. Listen, you see G would turn into Judge Jew G. I'm telling you right now, this will be done in a half-hour plus commercials, bro. 100.
Oh, man.
Well, this has been very, very, very interesting and informative because, hey, I found out a lot of stuff here, too. Let us know how you feel in the comment section, and please check us out on Instagram and Twitter, and also please check out our podcast on all major streaming services. I'm Trill Dollar Bill. That's my man, the TBE Ned, and that's my bro right there. That's Judge G, and that's our boxing cousin right there, Complex, and that's the one and only. That's our brother right there. That's Caden. And you know who we are. We the Boxing Bros.
You're welcome.